Howdy folks, this is Singing Toad, and this is my backyard, and right now we're mid-February of 2023, and here in Canada we have this wonderful phenomenon called wintertime, and we have this substance that seems to land everywhere. Right here, look at that stuff. Amazing. It's called snow, and it's free, included with your subscription to Canada. So if you'd like to get some of this stuff, all you have to do is subscribe to Canada for 3 easy payments of $19.95. You'll find that down below, a link provided. Come join the subscription of Canada, and you'll get free snow sent to you no matter where you live. Free shipping worldwide. Howdy folks, Singing Toad here, and today what I have is the Buck 124 Fronteirsman. That's what's laying in front of me here. But what I have here is kind of a concept idea that I have. And, I have a Buck 119. Obviously, I have the original, but I also have the Pro Series. I also have a Buck Vantage, and I have the Buck Vantage Pro Series. And I've got the Buck 124, and I'm not sure. Maybe a Pro Series exists, but I'm not aware of it. But if I was to make a Pro Series of the Buck 124, what would I do? Well, not only would I just do a couple of things like upgrade the blade steel and maybe the materials a little bit, but I would also I'd tweak the design a little bit, okay? Now, I just want to make something very clear here. I'm not saying that I dislike this design or it's a bad design or anything like that. Not at all, folks. This knife, in its original configuration, is fantastic, and I'm not complaining about it one bit. Okay, I'm not disparaging it one bit. Don't take what I'm saying here out of context, folks. I'm just saying if I was going to do a Pro Series of this knife, I would tweak it ever so slightly. So let's get into it. So let's get the knife out of the sheath. So there's the big bad Buck Knifeosaurus. I mean, this is a gorgeous knife, and I absolutely love this thing. I lusted for this knife for years, and I'm so glad to finally get one. I've only had it about a month now, and after spending some time with it, I've just come to the realization that if I was to do a pro version of this, there is some minor differences, little tweaks I'd make to it, just to make it that much better, okay? Without, destroying the overall design of the knife, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and lay it down here for now. So the first thing I would do, as I already mentioned, much like in the Pro Series that we currently see out of Buck, is I would upgrade the blade steel. Now, this being a full-tang outdoor wilderness, survival knife, if you will, it's a rough and tough knife. It's meant for, being your one-bladed tool while you're out in the wilderness on a survival adventure or just a wilderness adventure. It needs to be a very tough steel. Now, 420 is a pretty good all-purpose steel, and with Buck's heat treat, it definitely cuts above its weight. Pardon the pun. It definitely performs better than what normal 420 that's offered by many other brands can do due to the awesome heat treat. But if I was to make this knife a pro version, I would certainly want to upgrade that blade steel to something that's very tough and very durable. And I would actually want to see this offered in two options. I would like to see this in in something like MagnaCut, because I think CPM MagnaCut is a fantastic, awesome blade steel. I don't have a knife in it yet, but I am working on getting one. From what I've read up on it and the presentations I've seen on MagnaCut, I think this would be a great candidate for MagnaCut, for a stainless steel. For those in the kind of carbon steel camp, I would say CPM 3V, because 3V is an incredibly tough steel, and you can beat the living daylights out of it, and it will keep going. So to see this knife offered both in a carbon steel, like a tool steel, and offered in a super stainless steel, MagnaCut and 3V would be the two that I would like to see this in. Maybe M4. M4 might also be a cool one too. Problem with M4 is that it rusts way too fast. So, 3V's got a little bit more corrosion resistance, not much, but it definitely is a little more corrosion resistance than, say, M4. But that's neither here nor there. So I would definitely want to upgrade the blade steel. That would be the first thing I would want to do. And that would be right in line with what Buck already does with their Pro Series, okay? Next thing I would do is I would contour the handle a little bit. So this handle is very blocky. Now, don't get me wrong, it does fit in my hand, And it's not, terrible, but it does kind of feel like you're holding on to a bit of a 2x4 a little bit. It's a little bit chonky and blocky, and I would definitely like to see this contoured a little bit better, okay? Just to make it kind of fit in the hand a little bit easier and nicer, and it would be more attractive to people with smaller hands, because this is a large knife. I have what I would consider average size hands. I do wear a large work glove. That makes any sense. When I go to the work clothing place to buy work gloves, I get what's called a size large. Okay, just generic men's size large. That's what I wear. So to me, this knife is fine. But some of smaller hands would really notice these. I don't know if I can. I don't know if you can really see how. I mean, they are a little bit curved, but I'd like that just a little bit better, more radiused around here. So I would just edit that a little bit, okay? And not much, we're not talking like completely redesigning the handle here, just rounding that off ever so slightly more. Next thing I would do is I would upgrade the handle scale material. Now, micarta is a great handle scale material, but maybe offer this in a G10, or go with a natural micarta, okay? Instead of this being a very smooth, polished, I would rather more just a natural finish, and maybe brown or tan, just to differentiate this from the standard model. So it's just a little more grippier in the hand, or maybe G10 with some texturing. Again, just to make this, a little bit different from the standard model. So blade steel, handle material, and handle design. Next thing I'd want to do is I would want to add a lanyard hole. And I know this is controversial, okay, because you're saying, hey, now you're changing the knife. Hear me out, folks. When you have a large outdoors knife like this, and if this is your one survival tool out in the wilderness, you're going to want a lanyard on this, because you're going to want this wrapped around your wrist so that you don't accidentally drop this knife and lose it. Now, especially if you're in the deep snow or something, having it around your hand, if you're chopping with it. Again, these are things I don't recommend you do with your knife, but if this is a survival situation and you have to use this knife to hack into trees and to produce produce firewood, this has to be your wood firing tool. Wood processing tool for fire making. That's what I was trying to spit out there, singing toad. But if that's the case, you want this thing in your hand, and a lanyard around your wrist would just make that a lot better. Also, having the lanyard hole would make it easier to add a nice lashing point to put this on the end of a stick and turn this into an impromptu spear if you were in a scenario where maybe you had to defend yourself against large, dangerous predator animals. You could turn this into an extension of a weapon for self-defense against large predator animals, and just give you that reach. Okay, so a lanyard hole is something I would recommend, and I know that's kind of controversial. I know a lot of people are going to be mad for me saying that, but that is my reasoning behind it. Okay, now the last thing I would do, I'm just going to slide the knife up here, is I would actually upgrade the sheath. Now this sheath isn't bad, don't get me wrong, okay, but the sheath does not have a drain hole. And to me, that's a big faux pas for outdoor in the wilderness, because if water and muck gets inside your sheath and you're walking along, it's going to collect down in the bottom, and it's going to eventually rust your knife and wreck your knife. So having a drain hole would be beneficial, and that being designed into the sheath. Not, like I could just take a small drill and drill a hole through that and then burnish it myself and be done with it. And that's actually probably something I'll wind up doing down the road. But it would be nice to see from the factory it come with the proper drain hole in it, like the 119 has. Even the basic 119 has a drain hole in it. So I would just like to see the sheath upgraded a little bit, and maybe offered in a different color, a tan, or maybe a deer skin or something, like just a little fancier, a little nicer, to again accentuate the fact that it's the pro version of this knife. So anyway, that's just kind of, my thoughts on this. Again, folks, this is a very light-hearted video here. Just a goofy idea, and if Buck is watching my video, which I guarantee they're not, but if someone from Buck was watching and thinking, hey, maybe we should do a pro version of the 124 Fronteirsman, these are my suggestions. Just to recap: upgraded blade steel, round off the handle, upgrade the handle material, add a lanyard hole, and upgrade the sheath, with a drain hole, at very least. Those 5 things is what I would recommend, and I think that would make for an awesome pro version of this knife. And you know what, Buck, if you did these things, consider your first one sold, because I'd buy it. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, folks. This is Singing Toad, signing out.